This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Monday, May 17. In Squiz Kids today, trouble in the Middle East, saving the slow loris, China's rover on Mars, and here comes the snow. That's what's making news, kids style.
The Lowdown.
A region of the world you will have heard a lot about in the news this past week, and you're about to hear a whole lot more about in the week to come, is a part of the globe often referred to as the Middle East. It's an area that takes in a place called Israel and a place called Palestine. And while they are neighbours, they disagree about who is the rightful owner of the land that they share. And in the past week and over the weekend, they've been firing missiles at one another. You may have seen footage on the news of buildings collapsing after being hit by rockets. That was part of the fighting between the neighbours. Things have been tense between Israel and Palestine for many decades, but this is the worst violence the region has seen for about 7 years. Because it's a disagreement that affects lots of people in lots of countries around the world, there was a big meeting overnight of a group called the United Nations Security Council, a collection of countries who will hopefully manage to convince the neighbours to stop fighting. Closer to home, and the southeastern states of Australia have shivered through a crazy cold weekend with snow falling on the Aussie Alps and across many parts of Victoria, Melbourne recording its coldest day of the year so far, Tassie waking to snow in the Highlands, and the mercury in Canberra dipping at one point to almost -5 degrees. Ooh! What does it mean when people say the mercury dipped? Well, thermometers to measure temperature used to have the liquid metal mercury in them. So there you are. The ski fields of Perisher Valley recorded their coldest May night since records began 12 years ago, shivering through -9 degrees over the weekend. Good news for skiers, with almost 10 centimetres being dumped on the slopes. Now, where did I put my electric blanket?
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Indonesia and the island of Java, where local conservationists have come up with a genius plan to protect the slow loris and to help out local farmers. The slow loris is probably the cutest animal you are going to clap your eyes on this week. It lives in the treetops of the jungles of Java and searches for food at night by clambering from one tree to another. Local farmers have cleared some of the forest to grow crops, and that means the slow loris has had to come down to the ground to move around its territory, and sometimes they run into dogs. And did I mention they were slow and not built for running on land? So that doesn't always end so well. But conservationists have built a highway of pipes strung from one tree to the next so that the loris can move across the landscape without having to touch the ground. And cleverly, the pipes also carry water, which farmers can use to water their crops. That's what we call a win-win. I've stuck a link to video of it in today's episode notes. Because, did I also mention how cute the slow loris is? Yeah, I think I may have.
Spaced out.
And it's back to Mars we go, with news over the weekend that China has successfully landed its very own rover on the Red Planet. Remember how we talked earlier this year about the United States' successful mission to land the rover Perseverance on Mars? Well, a bunch of very clever scientists from China have managed to do the same thing. The Chinese rover is called Zhurong, which means God of Fire, and it's a 6-wheeled robot that parachuted to the surface of Mars on Saturday. As with Perseverance, the Chinese mission has been many years in the planning, and the rover took 7 months to fly through space from Earth and reach Mars. That's because Mars is 320 million kilometres away. Zhurong landed not far from Perseverance, in Martian terms that is, but still a long, long way away. Too far away for them to hang out with each other while they conduct their experiments, let's just put it that way. China is the only other country other than the United States to successfully land a spacecraft on Mars. And yes, there's a link in today's episode notes to video of the rover.
Animal Kingdom.
And a quick update on the tiger that was on the loose and running around the Texas city of Houston last week. It has been found safe, it has been recaptured, and it will now go to live in an animal sanctuary. So isn't that good? Strangely enough, thousands of tigers are kept as pets in the United States, even though it is illegal in most of those states. Tiger as a pet. I think I'll stick to my border collie.
Q&A call out.
Time is almost up, footy fans. Today is your last day to send in a question for AFL star Josh Dunkley, who's bravely agreed to take the hot seat and answer your questions in an upcoming special episode of the Squiz Kids Q&A. So why is it so special? Because, as well as being a Western Bulldogs midfielder, Josh is a proud member of the Swysh community, a great new service providing everyday Aussies with personalised video messages from their favourite sports stars. It's an awesome gift for birthdays and big celebrations, and every Swysh video raises money for charity. Right now, Josh is on the bench with a shoulder injury, which means he has plenty of time to dedicate to answering your questions. Questions like, how did he crack the big time? Or, what job would he have done if footy hadn't worked out? Or, what's the best part about playing footy for a living? Send through any questions you have for Josh to squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. And for more info about Swysh, check out heyswysh.com. That's Swysh with a Y, or see the link in today's episode notes. Oh, and the best question gets a free personalised video message from Josh himself, because Josh just gives and gives.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What's the region of the world called where Israel and Palestine are located? That's right, it's the Middle East. Question number 2. What's the name of the animal in Indonesia that conservationists and farmers are working together to help? Yeah, it's the slow loris. Question number 3. Which country has just landed a rover on Mars? You got it, it's China.
Shout-outs.
It's May 17. On this day, in 1859, the first laws of Australian rules football, aka AFL, were published. It's also a special day for these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Phoenix from Kalgoorlie, Amalia from Ashmont, Alice from Inverloch, Sam from Mansfield, Dakota from Jugyong, Blake from Turramurra, Anya from Sydney, Alara from Cranbourne, Austin from Shell Harbour, Dakota from Harden, Lachlan from Lake Munmora, Ryan from Denmark in WA, and Alice from Lane Cove. And some belated birthday shout-outs to Billy from Bridgetown, Declan from Surrey Hills, William from Coburg, Ryan from Glen Innes, Merv from Denmark in WA, Jasmine from Essendon, Annie from Sydney, and Harrison, who's tuning in all the way over there in Germany. And today's classroom shout-outs go to Year 3 at Our Lady Queen of Peace in Greystanes, Stage 3 at Peakhurst South Public School, and Classes 3-4J and 5-6P at Abbotsford Public School, with a special shout-out to Classes 1C and 3-4B, whose teachers Mrs. Cromack and Mrs. Boyle are celebrating birthdays this week. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out. Squiz Kids is proudly supported by the Judith Neilson Institute for Journalism and Ideas.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.